Many of you might be aware that there was a huge backlash against PayPal just recently because it updated its acceptable use policy to include a clause that would essentially fine users $2,500, or in the way that it put it in the terms, subject you to damages, including liquidated damages of $2,500, which is roughly £2,200. So that's what I'm discussing in this video. So welcome back. If you're new to me, I'm a barrister who helps you understand law. And in this video, talking about this acceptable use policy. And as the title suggests, acceptable use policy is unacceptable. So it's reported that PayPal updated this document in October 2022, which is the month of recording. Although the document that I found was dated November 3rd, 2022, which is impressive because we're not quite there yet. So the crux of it is this. The outline of this document says you are independently responsible for complying with all applicable laws in all of your actions related to your use of PayPal services, regardless of the purpose of use. Sounds fair enough so far. In addition, you must adhere to the terms of this acceptable use policy. Violation of this acceptable use policy constitutes a violation of the PayPal user agreement and may subject you to damages, including liquidated damages of $2,500 per violation. So whilst the reports are talking about a single fine or levy of damages of $2,500 or £2,200 or whatever it works out to, this actually says per violation. So if there are several violations, that could rack up fairly quickly. Let's read on. Which may be debited directly from your PayPal accounts, as outlined in the user agreement. See restricted activities and holds section of the PayPal user agreement. Now, long story short, this means if you do anything that PayPal lists in the prohibited activities section, which I'll come back to in a minute, they can just debit $2,500 from your account or the equivalent thereof for each violation that it deems necessary. Now, there's an application of law, which I'll discuss in a moment, but there's also this interesting part of this prohibited activities, which has been reported quite widely. Just taking one snippet, I'm going to link the document in the description below so you can go and read it in full for yourself if you are so interested. But one bit that I found quite interesting, which also the news companies found quite interesting to report, is section 5, which said, involve the sending, posting or publication of messages, content or materials that, in PayPal's sole discretion, are harmful, obscene, harassing or objectionable. But there's more. The bit that actually made the news was under section 5F, which says present a risk to our user safety or well-being, are fraudulent or promote misinformation. So if PayPal in its sole discretion determined that what you posted was misinformation, again, they would debit $2,500 from your account. So if PayPal's sole discretion, they deem one of your messages to be objectionable, they're going to debit £2,500 from your account? Well, actually, no, because PayPal has now U-turned on this because there has been a huge backlash, 1,400% increase in the search activity for delete PayPal or cancel PayPal and people taking their money out and cancelling their accounts. But also David Marcus, former president for PayPal, tweeted the following. It's hard for me to openly criticize a company I used to love and gave so much to, but PayPal's new acceptable use policy goes against everything I believe in. A private company now gets to decide to take your money if you say something they disagree with. Insanity, he tweeted. And Elon Musk, who of course co-founded PayPal, replied, agreed. However, as I said, after the huge backlash and a 6% drop in shares after the update, PayPal said that this included incorrect information. And in fact, PayPal is not fining people for misinformation, and this language was never intended to be inserted into our policy. We're sorry for the confusion this has caused. Bit of a strange statement to make, I thought. Perhaps that's misinformation. But with all that said, the irony is this term, if it were really inserted and intended to be inserted, in my view, wouldn't be enforceable anyway. Because if we look at the unfair terms in Consumer Contract Regulations 1999, for the purposes of England and Wales, of course, we look at Regulation 5.1, Any term which is a contractual term not individually negotiated shall be regarded as unfair if, contrary to the requirements of good faith, it causes a significant imbalance of the parties' rights and obligations arising under the contract, to the detriment of the consumer. Regulation 6.1 provides that the unfairness of a contractual term shall be assessed, taking into account the nature of the goods or services for which the contract was concluded for, and by referring at the time of the conclusion of the contract to all the circumstances attending to the conclusion of the contract and to all the other terms of the contract or of another contract on which it is dependent. And so that's just a very long-winded way of saying if you didn't negotiate this term and it's significantly unfair to you, the consumer, it's unfair, thus it's unenforceable. So it wouldn't have been enforceable anyway. However, that wouldn't have stopped you had this really become part of the terms and imposed upon you for any one reason that they saw fit or another. It wouldn't have prevented the whole hassle of you having to try to get your money back from PayPal, or worse still, have to go to court to get it back, because that would probably take you 2 years or so, even in a small claim. Because my average just recently has been roughly 2 years from start to finish for a small claim to actually get into court for determination. But suffice to say, I find it absolutely bizarre for PayPal to say that this was never intended to become part of the terms. A terms document which has been written and produced dated the 3rd of November and somehow updated users in October. Either way, I find this really bizarre, and as I say, lots of people have rushed to close their PayPal account, so I'd be very interested to see what happens from here on in. Anyway, I thought you'd find that interesting, so please do like this video and subscribe. I'm desperately trying to get to 250,000 subscribers. If you aren't subscribed already, please do that now. And please do me a favor, if you know anyone that would find this content in any way remotely useful, send it to them and make them subscribe. Bring them to the computer if you have to and tell them to subscribe. I want to grow this channel so I can help you more and more. So in the meantime, thanks for watching.